Welcome back. Last Tuesday, the APC governorship primaries in Bayelsa State ended in a controversial circumstance, albeit the former governor of Bayelsa State, Sylva, was announced winner. The National Working Committee of the party then rescheduled the election to hold yesterday. But one of the frontline candidates withdrew from the contest, citing several errors in the process. Again, the APC today held another primary at the party's secretariat and declared Mr. Sylva candidate of the party for the December 5th governorship election in the state. With this election, Mr. Sylva will be running against the incumbent governor, Seriake Dixon. Children in internally displaced people's camps in Maiduguri now have every reason to cheer up as the federal government has kicked off makeshift classes in their camps. The first beneficiaries are children from Dallery camp, home to more than 18,000 people, with school-age children accounting for at least 7,400 of the population. The presidential initiative for the rebuilding of northeast Nigeria is footing all the bills for the project, which was first introduced by the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF.
Now you're talking. The rejection of formal education by the Boko Haram sect is one of the reasons why the terrorist group is bent on taking lives and destroying property. It's also why these children and their parents are now refugees in their own land. Also, over 2.3 million people have been displaced in northeast Nigeria, while 250,000 have fled to Cameroon, Chad, and Niger Republic. Most sympathetic, perhaps, is the case of the Chibok girls. The group carried out massive abductions, including the kidnapping of 276 schoolgirls from Chibok in April 2014. Borno is the worst hit state in northeast Nigeria, with numerous camps dotting the landscape of Maiduguri, the capital. Most children of school age have not seen a classroom for a long time. Now hope seems to be coming alive. A mobile containerized school under the presidential initiative for the Northeast has been introduced by the federal government, designed to give children equal access to education, and the Dallery camp is the pilot project.
We are looking at education. Education is vital as a tool of empowerment of our future, of the children who are the greatest assets in this country. It's important that education is one of the things that we do focus on, and with the presidential initiative on the Northeast, installing this schools here, it shows that we are working in building the Northeast again.
The federal government is not alone. UNICEF is also a partner in progress.
UNICEF will aim for education for all. Really, is education for all boys and girls to enjoy quality education. It is the fundamental basic right for all children to receive quality education.
While this initiative is rolling up, the children are excited about starting to learn again. And as the children return to the classrooms, the state governor is not only grateful to the federal government and developing partners, he is optimistic that a new Borno will emerge from the ruins of the terror attacks.
I want to assure you that we are ever willing to see that in the next couple of months, Borno, the process of rebuilding Borno commences in earnest.
Of the 20 classrooms for Borno State, 12 have been placed in the Dallery IDP's camp, with the other 8 shared equally among 5 other camps in the state.
Etisala, now you're talking.
Time now for some more business news. Let's go to Anne Mawudu.
You first. First Bank.
Hello and welcome to Business News. The World Trade Organization has written a letter to Nigeria's Ministry of Trade, Investment and Industry to convene a meeting of all stakeholders to review the forex ban imposed last June on some 41 imported items of the Central Bank of Nigeria. At a one-day dialogue held in Lagos on Wednesday by the Nigerian Economic Summit Group and the Policy Development Facility, officials of the Ministry of Trade, Investment and Industry say the ministry has also received complaints from the ministry's offices in Europe seeking further clarifications on the CBN forex policy and the implications of the various trade agreements that Nigeria has signed with international organizations such as the WTO. The financial regulator today came under severe criticism on allegations that it failed to consult some government agencies and private sector trade groups before slamming the restrictions of forex usage for some imported goods. Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Nigeria plans to hold a stakeholders meeting in October with some trade groups such as the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry aimed at reviewing the current interest rate regime in Nigeria. The CBN director in charge of monetary policy, Moses Tolle, says that a similar meeting was held by the financial regulator with the Ministry of Finance, the National Planning Commission and some other agencies on Tuesday this week. Mr. Tolle says that President Muhammadu Buhari has met with the central bank and expressed his desire to see a lower interest rate market in the country. Nigeria's central bank has raised its benchmark interest rate steadily over a 4-year period, peaking now at 13%. The Nigeria Mortgage Refinance Company, that's the NMRC, has listed 8 billion naira Series 1 bond on the FMDQ OTC trading platform. Listed as a fixed rate of 14.9% for a 15-year tenor, the 140 billion naira medium-term note program is expected to create long-term funding for mortgage refinancing. At the listing ceremony in Lagos, the issuers affirmed that the bond issuance will bridge the gap between the Nigeria's housing deficit and the financing.
It's part of what we have to do to help deepen the debt market. And so this is one of the first tentative steps, but nevertheless giant steps in that process of building a private debt market, private corporate debt market that would drive the creation of new mortgages in the economy, creation of sustainable home financing vehicle, and the creation of affordable mortgages for Nigerians.
FMDQ's role, of course, once it's listed, is to make sure that that instrument is liquid and get you the better price. Once we go through the price discovery phase, you'll find out that that liquidity, of course, will drive the price to the number that balances the interest between the issuer and the investor. And of course, the transparency that will come with it and the efficient rules that we put around all bonds that are listed in our market.
President Muhammadu Buhari's ministerial list continues to douse Nigeria's economic uncertainties, and the impact of this does not leave out the stock market, as the positive run on equities remains steady. 3 rows now. Well, here is Harriet Agbenyi with a breakdown of today's figures.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The equities market continued its bullish run as the NSE All-Share Index jumped by 1.27%, ending the third quarter at 31,217.77. Market capitalization also grew to close at 10.72 trillion naira. As anticipated by some traders, investors continued to favor consumer and industrial goods stocks. Nestle, Dangote Cement and Guinness Nigeria were the top 3 gainers for the session. 26 price laggards were recorded, led by petroleum marketing stocks, Forte Oil and Total, down 0.80 and 0.53% respectively. Flour Mills Nigeria is third on the list, shedding 2.46% to close at 22 naira 21 kobo. Access Bank was the most actively traded with over 71.33 million shares. It's followed by Triple G with 47.63 million shares and Custodian and Allied PLC with 47.02 million shares. On the last trading day of the quarter, 416.97 million shares were exchanged in 3,603 deals for 5.23 billion naira. That's it on the stock market report. I'm Harriet Agbini.
Well, thanks a lot, Harriet. Major markets around the globe closed in the green today. Let's take a quick look at those figures. And that's it on Business News for tonight. Thank you for watching. I am Anne Nwawadu. Amarachi will be back with the rest of the news at 10.
You first. First Bank.
The governor of Ogun State, Senator Ibikule Amosun, has given the state's financial strength a clean bill of health, saying despite the current economic challenges, the state has been effectively meeting its financial obligations to its workforce. The governor was speaking in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, during a special send-forth reception for retiring permanent secretaries and the state head of service. Mrs. Modupe Adekunle held at the arcade ground of the governor's office. He used the occasion to announce the commencement of payment of backlog of cooperative deductions and leave bonuses to its workforce. A strong case has been made for a retooling of the current set of skills currently dominant among graduates and students. The advocacy canvassed by some chief executives at the CEO's Forum organized by First Bank Sustainability Center also suggested more collaboration among companies in the quest to empower more youth and the unemployed.
When top business executives converge on a room very early in the day for issues other than their individual company needs, then it must be very crucial. Youth, skills trainings and unemployment is what bothers these people, and they're here to discuss how they can lead by empowering.
May I suggest very humbly, sir, that you consider a business equivalent of this project fame.
This forum, under the auspices of the First Bank Sustainability Center of Lagos Business School, is asking what can be done.
The way you now organize curriculum is that no early specialization. One damage we've done to the next generation is to say this child is arts-oriented, that one is science-oriented. It's like you educate one hemisphere of the brain and leave the other hemisphere.
Are young graduates unemployable? What is responsible?
You know, in schools, you're taught all kinds. I studied pharmacy, by the way. That's what I read. My father wanted me to study pharmacy, but I wanted to be a salesman. When you're in school, you're taught different things, but when you join an organization, what do? You hold meetings, you have communication, you speak to people, you bring ideas, you execute stuff, and no one taught me to execute stuff in school. Again, that's a gap that we do have.
Can corporates help balance the skills gap?
We want people with experience, but we've realized that everybody wants the same thing, but where they're going to get the experience if they're coming straight out of school. So we have that early career development program that's almost like a grooming ground for people who can come on and have very successful GE careers.
Now, the worsening situation that we see today also tells us that we don't need to go into any analysis to know that things are not going the way they should go. And I think by the time we begin to implement some of the initiatives that will come out of this process, we will begin to see improvements in the social environment generally, and then those productivity indices will begin to inch up. That is the time when we can begin to feel the impact of the things that we are doing today.
Well, unlike other talk shops, the action plans from this CEO roundtable will be escalated to the Nigerian Economic Summit Group with the hope of measuring the outcomes. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
New media journalism is becoming increasingly important, and its significance imposes a duty on users to be responsible and accountable. Responsibility and accountability are two key pillars of First City Monument Bank, and this is one major reason why the bank took it upon itself to organize a media parley for journalists and bloggers. The parley had a theme: stimulating responsible new media journalism, a pathway to international recognition.
The FCMB Media Parley drew a rich crowd of journalists, from some of the veterans in the media industry to journalists covering different beats, and of course the bloggers. In his opening remarks, the CEO of the bank, Ladi Balogun, says the digital landscape is becoming more and more important for individuals, organizations, and even the government. And this is why FCMB, as part of its social responsibility, feels the need to stimulate discussions on responsible new media journalism.
I think that there's a huge amount of responsibility and accountability, both of ourselves, as well as from you, the media, because you can either make or break. You can shape the nation or you can destroy the nation, literally. And we saw the power of the media when it came to the elections last year, largely coming from areas like social media. So the opportunity is great, and I think that that was just the beginning.
The panel was carefully put together, and the keynote speaker, award-winning Channel 4 News TV journalist Inigo Gilmore, shared his experiences of how new media challenges and influences journalists in several parts of the world.
You know, bloggers and people operating Twitter say, well, we're holding, you know, not only governments and individuals account, but also holding the media to account, the mainstream media, because we're showing up things that they missed, or even identifying where they've gone wrong. And we, you know, I think everyone welcomes that to a degree, but there needs to be some regulation and some balance.
The event was very interactive. The management of FCMB are happy they've been able to deepen discussions around these issues.
We've woken people up to say, hey, you know what? One, a corporation can do this for no reason, but just to start a conversation. That's one. Two, is to challenge them to say, you know what? Some of the conversations here was to say, okay, traditional media, what is it that traditional media is doing versus what new media is doing?
And so the message of change to traditional and new media is to build a good reputation, one that's responsible and accountable. Shola Shayeli, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, CAF slams Nigeria Football Federation with a $5,000 fine for fans' misconduct in the 2017 AFCON qualifier against Chad. That's in sports news. Please stay with us.